Man, I'm gonna go through a couple concepts. Really, the first thing when all of this starts, when you get into the business, it's about conversations. And then the second question we ask ourselves is like, okay, where do I go for the conversations, right? Where do we start with all of this? So I wanted to give you guys some ideas today of, if you aren't doing it already, the way in which you can set up a plan to build your sphere and how to go about doing that. And really kind of go through a couple concepts within this that are really important to understand. First things first, I wanted to kind of go into, do you guys know what I mean when you're working on the business? Sometimes it's difficult when you're in the business to see, what is the phrase, the forest through the trees? Or you could say, you can't see the label from inside the jar. So you're working in the business, and sometimes we don't know where we're at or what we need to do next. Does anyone else ever find themselves in this place, or is it just me? Right? So this is really the difference between, in my eyes, being a salesperson and a business owner, right? Do you guys see that? The difference between being a business owner and a salesperson? Sales is a part of being a business owner, but there's a little bit more that comes with the ownership side. What are your guys' thoughts around this? Is it the same? Is it not the same? What do you think?
Well, this business owner usually has, is focused on goals, measurables, those kind of things, rather than just the actions of day to day. So
Yeah.
those kind of separate that. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, and you guys are starting to learn. I ask very general questions, right? Just to see how,
I mean,
how we
I'm just
respond.
guessing. You could be going
Get the conversation going. You hit the nail on the head, Lisa. Okay. It's a salesperson, in my mind, at least in my own experience, is what's the next deal, right? What's next? And I'm always hunting for the next deal. That is a part of business ownership. But you got into the numbers, knowing your numbers, measurables, goals. So having an idea of, not just the next sale, but how many conversations do I need this month or today, or appointments this week, to be in line with what my goals are. You guys with me on that? And I'm gonna be real with you guys here in the beginning. I would see one of the biggest differences when I'm working with other business owners, agents, whomever it might be, is them knowing their numbers. I naturally am not a numbers person, okay? But I'm just gonna tell you, we all at some point are gonna go through the pain, and it is pain, of needing to know your numbers and kind of the reality check of where you are. For me personally, I'll just tell you where it hit very close to home for me is with an insurance business, an insurance brokerage I had years and years back. In the beginning, in my mind, we were doing awesome. We had brought on new producers. People are out there doing their thing, selling whatever it is that they're doing out there. And in my eyes, like looking at the business, and it was more of a feeling thing, day in and day out, I felt like things were really good. And then, I mean, you guys probably know someone else that's been through things like this, or maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I got to a point, it was basically tax time. This is really hitting close to home right now, right? And tax time, I found out how close my margins, what my numbers really were, the reality of things. And I'll tell you guys, that was something I never, ever want to or will go through again, where it was basically, what am I gonna do to make payroll for my people? And it was pulling from savings. I even sold my car. I sold my car and I did like some cheaper lease or something so I could make payroll for people. And that's where I'm saying, like, at some point I can either learn in the beginning how to manage it as a business and look at what those numbers and parameters are in the very beginning, or eventually it's gonna hit me in a different way, like it had with me in my own experience. So we talked about this briefly before. It's interesting how we define risk. We define risk as, a lot of times someone may tell you, you guys are wondering where we're going with this, but this is really important to understand. Someone may tell you, why would you get into real estate? There's so much risk, right? There's so many agents out there. The market is who knows what, and they have no idea about the market, right? Or what's going on? Why would you risk that? And I think we learned firsthand over the last few years, especially, that risk can be found in that 9-to-5 job, right? There are many places due to COVID or market fluctuations that closed their doors, and people that thought that they were carrying no risk found out very quickly that a lot was out of their hands. You guys are like, geez, Chris, this is really doom and gloom to start things off. However, this is a good thing, because as a business owner, more is in our control. It's really within our control, right? It's within my control what I do from moment to moment. And is there something I need to learn? What do I need to do? What's going on? And it's within my control to do whatever I need to do to get on track and to make those course corrections as a business owner. So I want to point something out here in the beginning. When it comes to your numbers and what those look like, okay? Some of you have worked through this with me in a spreadsheet, but I want to break this down and show you just how simple it is to know where you're at and what you need to do next to progress as a business owner towards your own goals, okay? This is literally just going to take a couple minutes, but I promise if you do this, getting clarity is what we're all after, and it'll give you extreme clarity around where you're at and what to do next. So I'm bringing my phone out because I'm going to be doing some simple calculations, but for me, I need my calculator still to do calculations, so don't joke too much. So we went through in our sales meeting basically per hour what we earn. I'm going to take it from a different approach here as well, okay? So let's say, I'm just going to take it from square one. What's a good income goal? Let's say as a newer agent, or someone just throw out a number to me, an income goal this year. Let's say from, I have to look at the date, April 18th to April 18th of 2024. Give me a number that you want to take home from real estate.
Sorry.
65.
65, okay? 65,000, Sin said. Okay, and then based on that, we look at, I would break down what taxation might be, okay? So, and getting back to the taxes side where it hit me pretty hard, is just breaking down what that total amount would be so that after taxes, I have that take home of 65,000, okay? So typically if you factor in maybe around 30%, 33%, whatever that is,
With writing off your expenses, I found it to come to about 20%.
awesome.
If you don't
Good.
have to eliminate
Yeah.
all that, see all the numbers
Yeah.
you run out with, but 20% ended up being my taxes.
Good. So you already have some clarity around that side,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
So
but I don't know if you're doing the big number or the little number. But
does
either way.
someone want to factor for me? Like if I'm taxed, let's say 25% or 30%, if we want to be conservative, what larger number that gives me?
I don't have my calculator. 65, so
About 80 or 79.
Okay,
1,000.
let's go 80,000. And some of you may have, some of you may not have seen, and I hope you guys can see this okay. I put GCI, so that's my gross commission income. Okay, it's how much I need to bring home from everything I earn in real estate and commissions, okay? So from there, we're gonna move pretty quickly through this. Average commission, you guys wanna throw a number at me? And again, let's be conservative with it. If you think it's a little low, give me the low number. What do you think?
5,000
As a take-home commission?
per unit?
I hope it's more than that. Like,
Well, it depends if it's listing or my side.
yeah. Would it be fair if we did 4,000? 4 or 5,000?
Car and listing and buy-in, but
350,000.
Probably
Okay. So Sin just threw out another number. How about we meet in the middle, and I'm going to go a little low. So let's even say 4,500. Is that okay? So, and keep in mind, guys, you'll have your own numbers. This is an example for you that you can follow, okay? So average commission of 4,500. I'm going to be throwing this at you guys a lot. So the math. So someone take, you may have already done it, the mathematicians out there, 80,000 and divide into that 4,500. What do you guys have? What's that? So 80,000 divided by 4,500. Okay, that sounds right. So Sin said 17.7, so we're going to say 18. So this is giving me now, it's starting to hone in on what my goal is this year, okay? So if everything were to stay the same, my average commission being 4,500, and I want to take home 80,000, we're looking at 18 transactions. And by the way, guys, your plan that you set up, it should adjust. It should change over time, right? Because if I were to guess right on the, hit the nail on the head with 4,500 being my average commission, that would be crazy. It's never happened before. So you're going to see where you're trending based on your commissions, okay? And this is why we do not discount our
numbers
commissions.
from last year, it's 72.
It's what?
Tell you, if I look at my numbers from Parenting all year, 7,200 per transaction average. But I mean, that's good, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Not necessarily, but you know, and I didn't do as many listings, that's more buy side.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
So for the example, 18 transactions, and
Yeah.
then you need to know on a daily basis what numbers are going to drive this. So now I'm going to set up what my own standards are. So from there, I look at kind of just a couple different things. Well, first, let's do this. How many appointments can I go on? Let's say if I specialize in the buyer side, how many buyer appointments I can go on before one of those turns into a closed transaction that year? And I say that year because sometimes you meet with someone, you get them started in the process. We know what that looks like. Look at homes. And this is a skill set thing. How effective am I at helping them through the process, guiding them? We've talked about this before, getting to a closed transaction. So for every how many appointments might I get a closed transaction? What do you think? You guys are like, man, Chris,
I don't know.
Chris, are you leading the training or are we? You're asking a lot of questions. What?
I don't know how to assess that. Appointments, showings.
Yeah, so
you
sometimes in
already
the
know.
beginning,
I don't.
and this is a first time appointment, okay? So it's not how many showings or breaking that down too much. It's just meeting with someone for the first time, them turning into a closed deal. A lot of times with newer agents, I'll say for every 4 appointments you go on, one of those is going to turn into a closed deal. Are you saying less than that, Lisa? Is that what you're
I'm
thinking?
saying I don't want to go on those appointments if those people aren't ready to buy.
So we're being very conservative here. So there's a lot of things that can happen.
I'm not.
They may not be
yip-yapping.
ready. That's why we pre-qualify them. We talked about that before, asking questions before I show up and what's their situation, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
Also, how effective am I? Am I an agent that is the order taker? We talked about that last week. That's going to view, oh man, it makes my skin crawl. But if I hear from an agent and they're like, oh, we've been looking for 1.5 years. We're still looking, you know, and
So
doing showings.
ridiculous.
So,
Well, it means that
So-
their people either weren't qualified, had no urgency. Something's wrong with them.
yeah, yeah. So we're just going to say, starting out, I'm learning this, right? Ideally, it's going to get better in time. I'm just going to say 4 appointments to 1 transaction, just so it doesn't hurt you guys. Maybe we'll do 3. Okay, I want to be fair. 3 appointments to 1 closed transaction. This is something I can work on. My presentation skills, all of that, right? Asking the right questions. Then from there, just one other number. How many people do I talk to within my sphere, or leads or new individuals before one of them says, yeah, let's meet. Let's get together and talk about real estate. I may have a need that they uncovered and they didn't think it was possible to buy a home. We've all heard this. They're about to renew their lease, and we ask the right questions, meet with them first, find out there's opportunity. But how many just conversations might I have before one of those says, yeah, let's get together?
Conversation.
What's that?
50.
50%? So for every 2 people you talk to, 1 person is going to say, let's meet and find out if I can buy a home.
No, out of 50, I got one.
Oh, that's good. I said 50% and Sin said, no, out of
Yeah.
every 50, I'll have 1. Okay, that can happen. So yeah, and keep in mind, like over time, it's that individual I started speaking with. We're going to talk about this in a moment. That individual I spoke with calls me back. Jeffrey gave an example the other day, right? Or just today. He'd been following up with someone, put them on a search. Year later, they see something, they say, let's go, I want to buy something, right? So again, it's fun to ask these questions because it's important to start to think, where am I trending with where I'm going, right? So now we're talking about conversations when we get to that point where I talk to someone for a couple minutes, right? For a couple minutes, I talk to them, and then they're ready, for every so many of those, they're ready to move forward. There's some interest there. If we're looking at conversations being 2 minutes, do you guys think it's fair if I say, like, for every 15 people, one of those might be ready
No.
down the road?
No.
For every 15 2-minute conversations, no? Okay, what do you guys think?
I think more, because 15 is 1 week. That means we'd have to have an appointment every week.
Okay, so let's just look at how many conversations
30?
for 2 minutes. Do I have 30?
I
Okay.
don't know. You may have an idea already.
No, it depends on the person. It depends on the groups. Would you say it depends on who I'm reaching out to? If I'm
Well,
calling people I know that know
yeah, that
me,
doesn't
let's
count.
hope they don't hang up right away, right? Or they may talk to me more, may refer me someone.
You
So let's
included
say 30
Sphere.
conversation.
That's totally different than random leads.
Yeah, so it depends on who we're reaching out to and how we go about doing it, right? You guys see where I'm going with this. So now it's simply kind of doing the math, So let's say for 18 transactions, if it's 3 appointments, again, this is if everything follows for the remainder of the year this way. For every 3 appointments, I get 1 transaction. So let's say if it were to stay the same, 18 times 3. So that over the span of a year is 54 appointments per year. Hoping you guys can read that okay. If you need me to repeat a number or something, just let me know, okay? And then for every 30 conversations, if it follows that to get 1 appointment, I simply multiply 30 times 54. So this is going to sound exhausting. You guys ready for this? This is like the funnest number that I throw out to agents sometimes. So over the span of a year, if everything were to stay the same, that's 1,620 conversations a year. That sounds exhausting. I'm literally feeling my voice get hoarse just thinking about it. So now here's the power of consistency. And this is the whole reason that I'm bringing this up with you guys right now, okay? The power of consistency and improving our skill set. So let's say 1620, and let's go per month. So I'm going to divide 12 into that. Is 1 o'clock the best time to do math or what? To break down formula? Looking at Jeff right now. It's just like, no, don't. The numbers are almost over with, Deb, I promise.
30.
So
33.
135?
No, 33 conversations. Use 50
that.
weeks.
1620 divided by 12.
I got 135.
Yeah, 135 per month. I think Lisa's the star pupil and she's
But-
jumping
And
ahead
then
already.
she's doing,
But you
yeah.
don't use 52 weeks. And
And then if for every week, if I divide 4 into that, divided by 4, 33 a week. So that gives us about 33 conversations a week, right? Yeah, you already jumped ahead. Lisa's like, let's go, let's get to that number.
That's a
So
lot.
here's my challenge. Here's my challenge to you guys, okay? How can I improve something if I don't know what to improve or which direction to go? One of my favorite quotes by Yogi Berra is, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up someplace else. And that's why businesses close their doors, right? Like me, I thought that things were going great. We're out there, we're sponsoring lunches and doing events and all this stuff. And by feeling it felt great. But then once I learned the reality of things and what's truly going on in the direction we're going, if I would have looked at that long beforehand, I could have saved myself a lot of pain, suffering, all that stuff, right? So my challenge to you is have something in front of you each and every day. When I started finally tracking what I was doing, I tell agents this, I went to my kid's bedroom, one of my kids' bedroom, and he had some old calendar. It was like a Marvel Avengers calendar from 2 years ago. I grabbed that thing, I put it in front of my desk, the same workspace I went to the same time every day to do my calls. And then I just recorded that. How many appointments did I make today, if any? And then most importantly, how many conversations did I have? And as I did this, the funny thing is, in the beginning, I won't lie, it was a little, I'm talking about pain, a little painful. Like I would look at the end of the week and be like, oh, I only did these many conversations, you know? But that forced me to figure it out. It forced me to focus on what's most important and start to think through, how do I talk to more people per hour? How do I meet more people? How am I approaching them? Without getting to that space of thinking through that, I'm just going to be real with you guys. It doesn't matter how many classes and things we do. You've got to go through that process yourself, through that figuring it out phase. So there's the classroom learning and there's the application learning. There's something that Sin does, something that Deborah does, something Jade, Lisa, Lauren, all of you guys do that would be better than me in a specific segment. There's also something I might be able to do to reach like opportunity, but we have to go through that process of identifying what are my standards to reach my income. And then at the end of every week, I can start to see, and instead of feeling bad about my business, the numbers actually made me feel better. So the first week I was like, okay, apparently I need to get more conversations. So going into week 2, what is my plan to drive more conversations, right? Maybe I'm doing a lot of calls, but not getting conversations. I need to improve that. Maybe I'm doing a lot of appointments, but people aren't moving forward with me, and I need to get better at appointments and asking the right questions. Maybe I'm going on appointments I shouldn't even go on, right? I hope you guys find this beneficial, and there's a reason I took time with this, because if someone just tells me, Chris, work harder, I don't know if that helps me very much. But if I can start to see on my own, Chris, I need to get appointments. I'm doing a lot of conversations, spending a lot of time with this. I need to figure out why people aren't choosing to meet with me when they have a need. You guys with me on that? So I'm gonna issue that challenge in the very beginning. If the language of your business are the numbers, and if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. That hit me really hard when I had to finally learn that, okay? And it doesn't have to be complicated. So going with this, I wanna break down, we talked about last week, like I put in that email, how to navigate some of these conversations as we're getting better at scripting and uncovering a need. I wanna get at, I'm just gonna share a lot for me personally, what I had done to drive or to find individuals to have these conversations with, okay? So I'm gonna take it through square one, and I'd like for you guys, whether previous to real estate or in real estate, if you've done things, this is a stage for us to share ideas of where you can go to start to really drive this and feel more in control of getting your conversations up and your appointments up, okay? Anyone have any questions about what we've gone over first before I move forward? Okay. So let's see. Okay. I'm going to start from the basics, okay? So there's two ways that I find to drive conversations. There's conversations that start with a real estate introduction, right? And so I don't want to give you guys all the stuff, but an example of that are the leads. I saw you going on the website. I saw you doing a search. I'm going to follow up with that. That is starting with a real estate conversation, okay? In fact, I'm not going to take time to write this. There's that side. And then on the other side, there are individuals that I just get to know within my sphere, common interests, neighbors, they know me, they know what I do, but it may not start with the real estate conversation. And if you're looking at within your own plan how quickly you need to get into churning business and getting into converting, I think we can see that the conversations that start along the lines of real estate, that is going to churn business faster, right? On the other side, it's almost more of the marathon where I'm putting more people into my database or my data bank for down the road when a need arises that they're going to work with me. And we talked before about rapport and connection, right? So one side is the sprint, the other side is really the marathon. You need to have a mix of both of those within your own business. But depending on where you're at right now, and again, how quickly you need to turn business over, that's going to tell you maybe I need to have more real estate-based conversations with people than the other side when I'm spending my time, okay? So let's start on the real estate conversations. Could have just said convos. So I already said leads, you know, with team leads. What are some other ways that we start with a real estate conversation? That's where I sit. What are some situations where I find myself in where I introduce myself as a real estate agent? Take it from there.
I did a wedding venues.
The what?
Wedding venues.
Wedding venue. So do you sponsor a table for real estate or?
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
Open house.
ooh, there we go. Now we're moving. Events, sponsor. So in case you guys didn't hear Sin, she said sponsorships at events, having a table where you're representing yourself as a real estate agent. She also said open houses. What else?
Networking or
Networking, yeah. So there's the sponsor events, and then there's like, I'm just gonna put like attendance for different events and networking. Good.
Like meetups.
Yeah.
Meetup groups.
Yeah, that can go both ways. So there are some Facebook groups. There's an app that I was talking about before when we were door knocking called Meetup, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. But there's different groups out there where you get to know people and you can show up as a real estate agent to those. Yeah. There's one thing close to you, Jade. Someone close to you is doing something today, driving,
Oh,
real estate conversation.
door knocking.
Yep, door knocking.
Wearing your name tag at the grocery store.
Ooh, yeah. Sin made a great point, wearing your name tag everywhere. Can you hear her, by the way? What's that, Lisa?
I have to go. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're good.
Thank you very
You
much.
bet. So door knocking. There's other things involved like circle prospecting. So we call it just listed, just sold calls. So in a given neighborhood, reaching out to people and letting them know what happened with their neighbor. Someone just sold their home. It was only on the market for so much time. Do you know anyone else that may be interested in listing their home in this area? Buyers may still be looking. Circle prospecting. I personally did around homes that just went under contract. So a house had the for sale sign out there. It's basically a billboard for me to show up in the neighborhood and tell them what's going on to a point. And I door knocked. You can also do calls. And I reached out to say like, hey, that home that was on the market, it's already under contract. Who else do you know that may want to put their home on the market? The only reason I did that is I would do the just sold calls, and I found out a lot of other agents were also calling. So I wanted to beat them to the punch. Not wait for it to be sold, but do it once it went under contract. There's calling expireds. So homes that, you know, we're going to see more of these in the future, but homes that were listed with another agent or whomever it might be, it expired. Their listing expired and it never sold. That was a big deal for me. I did a lot of expired calls. There's also for sale by owners. So someone wants to list their own home and they don't think, they're like, if an agent can do it, I can do it, right? So they got a book from the Barnes & Noble, Selling Your Own Home for Dummies or something like that, right? And they're like, I'm gonna do it myself, for sale by owner. So these are all areas in which I start with a real estate conversation, right? I know they have a need, an immediate need in the near future in almost every one of these situations. And I look to meet that need and book an appointment. Within these areas, and again, I'm doing the basics here, but it's important we understand this. Within these areas, there can be a higher level of no's to yeses, right? If I'm having conversations with these individuals and if I'm getting a lot of maybes, typically that means I don't know where to go from there. And I'm just gonna see them around in the future. It's kind of like if there's someone a girl I want to talk to in middle school and I say, hey, maybe if I see you around at the mall, maybe we can go to Cinnabon together and you know, maybe have a talk. It's easy for her to say a maybe, right? If I'm door knocking and say, hey, maybe if I see you around in the neighborhood, is it okay if I say hi or drop something off? Yeah, maybe. I want to get to the yeses or no's because that means I'm asking a direct question where I can help them and finding out what I can do to move forward. Make sense? And I know we're moving through this fast because I want to get to a couple other parts here with you guys. So you guys stop me if you're needing me to break down something a little more. So I'm going to go into these areas and how I approach it here in just a moment. The other side that we're going to look at is, and I did this kind of after hours. So I focused during the day on prospecting. This is where I'm hunting for business for the most part, right? I am driving these conversations so I feel more in control of that conversion and finding out if someone has a need now or not, and then I move on, right? Or if they'll work with me or not. From there, these are conversations just building sphere. And people that when a need arises, they'll reach out to us. These are typically conversations that start with common interests, things we're both involved in, whatever that might be. And then over time, Lauren and I talked about this a little bit, they'll reach out to me once they find out what I do as well, okay? So Sin, I'm already jumping ahead, but Sin was talking about an app called Meetup, which I'll go through in a moment. But what things are you guys doing just to meet people now? Just to, let's just say, make friends. What are you guys doing along those lines? Or what are you involved in?
I go to the dog park and then on the weekends, and then I'm in like Facebook groups.
Good. And in those, what type of Facebook groups are you in?
Like mom groups, and then there's like a couple like girlfriends of Fort Worth, stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
Chris and I do a lot of dog sitting in our free time just to like make extra income. So it's been a good way to meet people. So
Awesome. Awesome.
Kids sports.
Kids sporting events. Luckily, I have kids, so I'm not the creeper guy that's going to these events. You know what I mean? Yeah. In addition to the Facebook groups, I just want to point out to you guys, so I was looking for groups to get involved with, and I'm not going to take you through all the steps, but I was just looking at a group to common interest guys that aren't very good at golf that are willing to golf together, right? And I went online. Google is a resource that people haven't had before. And I went online just looking for a group like that, and one thing led to another, and I found this app called Meetup. And I was looking for a group that did, golf, and I couldn't find one, or I couldn't get into one. Maybe they just wouldn't take me because I was that bad. And I just organized my own. And I want you guys to, you can't see this, but I have the app here, and I still have a group in Utah that I need to end and tell them that I moved here. But let me see if I can show you on the screen. I don't know if you can see that. It's literally, do you see the name of this group? I don't know if it's focusing. It's
Let's
Get Out and Do Stuff. And all it is once or twice a month, I would schedule something we could do together, like going to the golf range, pickleball, whatever it is. And you guys, like, there's so many things out there, and I'm not best friends with each of these individuals. But I have, like, there's still people joining, and I have 577 members. And once I started doing this, I started seeing, I guess it's obvious, but I started seeing, like, my Facebook page or business Facebook page, like, all these views started jumping up, and people are seeing what I do, whether it's related or not. I would think it is, but this is the after hours thing for me. And this is where I was just thinking, man, if I have to have these many conversations, how can I have as many conversations as possible within an hour? And it took literally no time. And I would just post, we're going out to do this, and people would sign up, and I would meet new people every week. So have a plan every week where you not only, and plus there's going to be burnout. When I was doing expired calls and that's it for hours straight, I really started to experience a lot of burnout, right? So you need to have that going, but you need to have something on the side in those evenings every now and again, where the networking groups or events where I meet new people and I can just get to know them on a personal basis. I hope you guys are starting to form some ideas around this. It's really, today, I wanted to help you just drive these conversations and make more of those happen, okay? Anyone have any thoughts or questions so far before I move on to the next concept here? Okay. So what I would also do is every single week on Thursday, I would look at my week ahead. And if I didn't have a group I was going to, or a networking group or something large to get to know new people, that's the day that I went online or reached out to people or looked on social media that evening to find something the following day, right? So you need to look at the week ahead to save the week if you need to. And for me, one area that did incredibly well for me here is I looked at who are the individuals that I want to work with. So typically when people find out you have a common interest, because they connected with you, a lot of times it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, they want to support you because you have common interests. But going further than that, I looked at what groups do I want to work with? And I'm going to take you through one example very quickly here. I wanted to work more in luxury. I worked with a development in a high value area, and I started to meet new people, and I learned about construction on the luxury side. And I just said, I want to work with more people there. And I started to just think, you need to start to break down within this group, how do I identify them? What are they interested in? What's their free time look like? All of these things. Can you guys hear me okay? It sounds like we're getting feedback on
There is
the.
a lot. It's like if somebody's in the same room and they're listening, and it's like,
Yeah. You know what? I had to turn down the
Maybe.
volume, but is it better now? Just thumbs up.
yeah, it comes and goes. It's not all the time.
Okay, so I'm going to.
Maybe it's your mic.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna do it old school without the mic. So, yeah, going into this, okay, so I wanted to work in luxury. And then as I was just writing things down, you don't have to do too much research, but where do they live? What are their interests? All of that. So I looked at, they're going to be involved in charities and giving that back because they have disposable income for that. Wouldn't that be nice? Disposable income. So I was looking at 3 organizations, charities that they may be interested in, and there's a lot of brand loyalty to that charity. So I looked for getting involved with vets. I looked at getting involved with pets or animals, and then getting involved with kids. And these were things that are important to me. So the cool thing is I went on social media and I'm just taking you through the steps. I went through social media, I reached out to everyone and I just said, hey, who knows a great organization that gives back to vets or to animals or to kids? And I was having conversations with my sphere and they were seeing what I was active doing around real estate. I called around, I qualified organizations. I found out some just wanted money, some wanted, some were operating out of their parents' basement and didn't really have much of an organization going. And then I found, a couple different ones that I could join the board and listen in and what I could help with. And what I'm getting at is this is when things clicked for me. There was one animal rescue, pet rescue organization, and they were meeting in Park City. And I think I told Lauren this, but I remember going and they were meeting at the downstairs basement of a library in Park City. And it was kind of a drive, but I did it anyway. And I finally get there. I was running late because I went to the wrong library. And I get there and I'm seeing like Lambo, Ferrari, Range Rover. And I'm like, this is strange. Like at the library, and I park my humble car just way over in the corner. And I go downstairs and I have the owner of a dealership himself that's there, and these titans of industry that are all giving back to this organization. And that's when things clicked for me. I identified the group I want to work with. And because they felt identified with and I was supporting a cause that was important to them, it didn't matter if I did real estate or insurance or whatever it was. They wanted to support me, and I came away from business that easily. So identify who you want to work with, and when they feel identified with, they will work with you as well. And if you're wondering how to bridge those conversations, just go into, what do you do for work? I mean, start with questions. What do you do for work? If I learned about someone that was a business owner in sales, I would always ask, who's your ideal client? And my standpoint is I would look to help them grow their business by referring them someone, if not myself. I had one guy, I remember he was a carpet cleaner. And I said, who's the ideal client for you? And he didn't even know. And I was like, no, who would you like me to refer to you? So I have an idea. And he said, both in a couple, both are working, have kids, pets, 3,000 square foot home or larger. And I referred them someone, and that started a relationship where we referred a lot of business back and forth. So the way you need to look at your sphere, you're always looking to grow it, but you need to have a top 50. And you need to track how things are going with referrals and things like that. A top 50. So I can have 150 people in my sphere, but these top 50 are going to hear from me quite often. I was tracking what their needs are, what's going on. You should do this with your entire sphere. That's why you need complete information, like emails, birth dates, what the kids are doing, putting in the notes. But in my top 50, they heard from me all the time, and I would send them the thank yous. These were individuals that would either use me themselves or refer me someone once a year. And as much as you think you know who that might be, I had one individual, she was just active in her neighborhood and was at home, did some work at home. But she was like, I mean, I didn't see her this way, but she was literally like the golden. She would tell everyone at grocery stores about me, everything, like, well, you need to use her. She referred me so many people every year. It was amazing. So yeah, have your top 50, and these are people that will reach out to you when they have a need or find someone that has a need. On this side, you need to have no more than 3 strategies in driving real estate conversations. And you need to schedule it at least 2 hours every day. If you're starting out in the business, if it's 2 hours every day, and if I'm calculating taking breaks, things like that, I don't know what robot can go 2 hours nonstop making calls. If you can, great. We're door knocking, but factor in breaks in that. But you need to start driving these conversations if you're looking for immediate business. Okay. Let's see, at 148. Now, does anyone have questions in regards to some of these areas as far as like, we're gonna have a conversation around team leads, speaking of conversation, but events, sponsoring events, if you've done it before, have questions about it to drive conversations, open houses, door knocking. Does anyone have questions about any of those areas offhand? So it's kind of the open Q&A for any of them. The big thing is just trying it. I'm going to share one last concept with you. So I erased this. So remember, every day at a specific time and place, you drive real estate conversations. And then to add variety, have different special interest groups that you're a part of that you can get involved with. I also got involved with area schools. People obviously care about their kids in the schools in the area. So I reached out to principals, and as I just said, as a local business owner, I wanted to find out how I can support you in your school. And they gave me a lot of ideas, and that was another thing. We could go through neighborhoods with flyers and say, hey, we're helping this school with better attendance. And it all starts with that first conversation, but we gave out tickets with the teachers with all of the kids that had perfect attendance that month. And the kids with the most tickets put into a drawing twice a year. They had these huge events. This is prior to COVID, obviously, in person. And they made a huge deal out of it. It was on the loudspeaker with all the parents and their kids. We made sure we promoted it a lot. And all I did was get 2 bikes from the local Walmart, and there was a bike giveaway. And it was a huge deal. All the teachers knew about it, but because I cared about something that was so important to them on the Sphere side, and because I identified who I wanted to work with in what area, yes, when someone new moved into the neighborhood, someone was moving out, everyone around that school, it was awesome. I'll just say it was great. I had great loyalty there. So just start. And here's what I want to share around that. This is a quick concept, but this is something so important to understand. I talked about risk before. So let's say on this side, this is what we call rejection, or someone saying no. It's crushing, right? And this is what keeps us from calling. Would you guys agree? What if they say no? What if this? What if that? The rejection side. This is the success side, okay? So let's say I work at, oh man, I hope no one, I had a group once and someone did work at McDonald's. I'm not putting down this job, but let's say I work at McDonald's in this job, and I don't know what goes on back there when they make the delicious Big Mac, but let's say I'm the person in the line that slaps on the lettuce and maybe the special sauce, whatever that is, and then it moves on to the next person, okay? You guys are like, where is this going? So let's say I am just showing up every day, 9 to 5. I slap on the lettuce, cheese, and thing, pass it on, next person does it. What are the chances that in doing a job like that, with, let's face it, even someone like me could do that job, you know? What are the chances that the manager comes through one day and just says, Chris, I've been working in McDonald's for years, and you are the best darn cheese lettuce guy we have ever had in McDonald's. You are management material. I'm going to promote you your life is going to change. Where am I going with this? There's not a high likelihood of that. And do you know why? It's because my risk or rejection side of getting something wrong, this is what's called the success pendulum. Swings both ways, the same direction just as far. With the risk, I don't have a wide range of risk or getting things wrong. But you have to understand it's only going to swing back this far when it comes to success and what I can make happen for me and my family and getting promoted or things like that. Are you guys with me on this? We're wrapping up with this, but this is a very important concept to understand. Would you say our business has a very low level of rejection or risk or a higher level? Oh yeah. So Steve says high, right? So yeah, let's say it swings more this side. This is why there's more millionaires and highly successful individuals in our business. As soon as they learn that risk and rejection isn't really that bad, they learn very soon it always swings in this direction. As far as success or making money, however you define success. What's tough for me is many don't understand that they're actually playing it so safe. And when I say playing it safe, not driving conversations consistently, not going for appointments, not reaching out in areas where we talked about before, where maybe there is a high likelihood of someone saying, no, I'm not interested right now. But the more you do that, and I think you guys know this, the more you're giving yourself the opportunities of someone saying yes. So what this is all coming back to is we can give ideas around how to reach out to people, where to go with conversations, but you just have to decide, I'm going to be this individual that's going to swing so far in this direction with so many people perhaps telling me no, because I know it's going to open up channels for someone to say yes and me to get more deals happening. I understand in the beginning that, especially starting something new, you're wanting to get it right out of the gate. However, the more I'm willing to put myself out there, the faster I learn and the faster I will experience that success level. So every day, this is going to sound familiar to someone, every day your schedule needs to consist of prospecting. This is like experiencing that risk and learning from it, building a skill set, and follow up to those you have prospected to. Those three core things every day. It needs to be on your schedule. Okay. So that's what I have for you guys here today. We did it right under an hour. What questions do you have, or what are you guys encountering, or just has this been helpful in you having ideas within your own business to drive conversations? How are we doing with the 1 o'clock hour? It's warm in here too. I'm glad I'm staying. So yeah, it's warm. In fact, if you want to open the door, my guess. Should have said that a while ago. Any questions? Anything? Guys good? Get out there, crush it, conversations, all that stuff.
In the book today, I was in that part, it said, just ask. In the prospecting book.
Yeah.
I said, you just gotta ask.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. If you don't ask, what's the answer? Always no.
No.
It's always no if you don't ask.
Yeah, they said, ask for the appointment.
Yeah.
Ask for, everything you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was like, oh, that seems easy, right?
Awesome. Yeah. All right, you guys. It's important not to only understand the basics, but to work the basics. And then we develop a true understanding of it. But please reach out to me if you have questions. As you're reaching out to people and driving conversations, you're going to learn on your own. And you have me, Deb, so many people here to help you out as well. Okay. Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks
Chris.
for coming on.
Thank
It's good
you.
seeing you. Okay.